Welcome, friends. The world is changing rapidly: technology, trends, opportunities. But with all this speed, we increasingly lose sight of what's most important: meaning. We rush, we strive, we achieve, but deep down, the question remains, why? But once upon a time, people sought answers not in screens, but in the stars and silence. They listened to the world, observed nature, how the day was born, how the night died, how time flowed. They understood that everything around them was a reflection of the individual themselves. Philosophers, warriors, rulers, and sages of antiquity discovered not only the laws of victory, they discovered the laws of life. They knew that strength is born from inner harmony, that success is impossible without self-understanding, and that wealth without wisdom is only an illusion. Today we have prepared 10 ancient pieces of advice that have survived thousands of years and still work in life, in business, in relationships. These aren't just phrases, but keys. Keys to calm, to inner confidence, to the ability to act when others doubt. Apply them and you will see that life obeys the same laws as 2,000 years ago. Only the tools change, not the truth. The essence. Because wisdom never ages. It awaits those who are ready to hear it. Before we continue, please like and subscribe to the channel. Ahead await you ideas that change your consciousness and awaken your inner leader. So, here we go. The top 10 pieces of ancient advice that will help you in life and business. The first piece of advice is from the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, who said, "Know thyself, and you will know the whole world." Socrates said, "The unexplored life is not worth living." Self-knowledge is not a philosophy, but a strategy. Only by understanding your strengths, values, and fears can you make conscious decisions. How to put this advice into practice? Keep a journal, write down what inspires you and what drains you. Analyze where you waste energy. Self-knowledge is the first step to personal effectiveness and leadership. The second piece of advice is from the ancient Chinese. The sage Lao Tzu. Manage yourself and you won't have to manage others. The ancient Chinese sage Lao Tzu taught that true strength lies in gentleness and inner harmony. He who knows how to manage emotions masters the situation. How his advice applies to life and business. When you are calm, you see opportunities that a panicked person misses, and the ability to maintain centeredness is the main key to making the right decisions. How to apply this advice in practice? Before an important conversation, take a pause. Breathe deeply, returning your mind to balance. This way, you will act from strength, not from fear. The third piece of advice from the Roman Stoics. Do what you must, and come what may. The Stoics believed that we cannot control everything, but we can control ourselves. For example, Epictetus said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." Helpful tips from Stoics. Do what depends on you and let go of the rest. This frees up energy and allows you to act with confidence. How this advice applies to life and business. First of all, don't be afraid of external instability. Build inner resilience and you will rise above your circumstances, not them above you. Fourth advice from the philosopher and Stoic Seneca. Use time wisely, it cannot be regained. Seneca wrote, "We do not receive a short life, we make it short by wasting time." Modern people are overwhelmed by their busy schedules, but rarely move toward their goals. How this advice applies to life and business. Ask yourself, is what I am doing now bringing me closer to my purpose? Remove all unnecessary things. Only focus creates strength, and strength produces results. The fifth piece of advice from the ancient Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras. Listen more than you speak. Pythagoras forced his students to remain silent for 5 years before they could speak. He knew that listening makes a person wiser. Helpful tips from Pythagoras. In negotiations, speak less than your interlocutor. In life, listen not only to words, but also to the silence between them. Sometimes one word heard reveals more than dozens spoken. The sixth piece of advice is from the Chinese philosophy of Tao. Be flexible like water. Water takes any form, but never loses its essence. So too, a person must be stable on the inside, but flexible on the outside. How this advice applies to life and business. Flexibility is the power of survival. When the market, circumstances, or relationships change, you must be able to flow, not breaking down. How to put this advice into practice? Accept change as part of the journey. Ask yourself, what can I do differently? The seventh piece of advice is from the great Greek philosopher Aristotle. He said, learn to see the goal, not the obstacles. Aristotle believed that everything in nature strives for its own perfection. Problems are not obstacles, but points of growth. How this advice applies to life. When you face a challenge, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? By changing your perspective, you transform an obstacle into a tool of strength. How this advice applies to business. Every crisis is an opportunity to restart, to renew, to begin a new phase. The eighth piece of advice from the Buddha. Avoid excesses, therein lies strength. The Buddha taught the middle way, a balance between extremes. Excess destroys both body and mind. How can this advice be applied in practice? Don't live in an all-or-nothing mode. Find harmony between work and rest, aspiration and contentment. Only inner balance brings stability and clarity of mind. The ninth piece of advice from Hermes Trismegistus. Value words, they create reality. The ancient Egyptians believed that words possessed magical power. Hermes Trismegistus said, as is the word, so is the destiny. How this advice applies to life and business. Your words shape perception and trust. Speak consciously, promise only what you are willing to deliver. How to apply this advice in practice. Start your morning with affirmations. I am capable. I create. I act. This way you rewire your consciousness for success. The 10th piece of advice from Confucius, an ancient Chinese thinker and philosopher. Share knowledge, and you will receive more. Confucius said, by teaching we teach others, we teach ourselves. Wisdom does not belong to those who keep it, but to those who spread it. How this advice applies to life and business. Share your experience, help others grow, and your energy will multiply. In business, this is the principle of mentoring. By teaching a team, you strengthen your own vision. Ancient wisdom has not lost its power. It tells us, success begins within. Know yourself, manage your thoughts, value your time, act, and remain flexible, and life will begin to change. If you want this knowledge to become your inner support, subscribe to the channel. In the following videos, we will reveal the secret principles of ancient schools and show you how they work today.